Hello, everybody. It's Jen, and we're back for another Books and Looks video. Excuse me. If you have been here before, thank you so much for coming back and watching more. I hope you like what you see. As I always ask, give me some book recommendations. If you are enjoying my Books and Looks videos, give me a book to read and talk about, and I will probably shout you out and read the book and then review it like I do. If you're new here, thank you so much for coming. I am Jen, and what I love to do is talk about books and play with makeup. So I put it together in these videos. It's a get ready with me kind of video where I talk about books I have recently read, tell you what they're about, how they end, spoiler alerts, and I do my makeup at the same time just because it's fun. So without further ado, let's get started today. So, my book today is Once Upon a Crime. It's book number 4 in the Sisters Grimm series. I think I've talked about the other ones. I know I talked about book 1 and 2, or maybe I talked about 1 and then I talked about 3 and 4. I'm not really sure. I may have skipped book 3. I don't know. I should go back through and maybe link them down below so you can see all the videos in the series that I've read. So maybe I didn't do one because I read it a long time ago and then I did 2 and 3 together. I don't know. Either way, check the description box down below and see. I will put links to my other Sisters Grimm. So basically, this book, it's obviously in a series, and it's about the Sisters Grimm. Shocking. And basically they are descendants of the Brothers Grimm. You remember the fairy tale storytellers of old. And the premise is it's like a middle grade book. So it's a cute story. It's very action packed. It's like nonstop action, one thing after another. And they live in present day, and fairy tales are real. And the Grimm brothers were not writing stories. They were keeping records of the fairy tale people, right? And so nowadays, what they did is they put together this little town called Fairyport Landing, and they basically trapped the majority of the fairy tale people there to keep them safe and away from the humans because they weren't interacting very well. There were a lot of problems. And so cut to today, the family is the family that is maintaining the magic spell, helping all of these fairy tale creatures called ever afters live there in success and help them, keep them safe, protect them. And then of course there's some bad guys, some bad ever afters, and so the Grimm family arrests them or does whatever is needed to protect the ever afters as well. So in each book, and also the overarching plot is that the Grimm sisters' parents were kidnapped, and it turns out, you find out over the series, first 3 books in the series, that they were kidnapped by an organization called the Scarlet Hand. And a few fairy tale characters who are involved as it slowly unravels, and they're trying to find their parents. They do find their parents. They are in this weird sleeping coma, kind of like a Sleeping Beauty vibe, but we don't know why. We don't know who the Scarlet Hand is. They did rescue their parents, but can't wake them up. In the end of book 3, they were fighting the Jabberwocky and Puck, one of their fey friends. Yes, that Puck from A Midsummer Night's Dream. He is in the story as well. He helps them, but he's mischievous and whatnot. Well, they were fighting the Jabberwocky, and while they defeated the Jabberwocky, Puck was very seriously injured. His wings got torn off, and that means he's going to die. So they have to get him back to his fairy homeland in order to heal him. Sorry, my video is going wonky. So that's how this book starts. They are in a race to find the fairy kingdom in order to save Puck. So it's in New York City. So they're going there, and it's a couple of different things that they do to try to find where to go. And they finally find the fairy tale kingdom. And it's kind of funny because it's literally in a bar restaurant or something. And it's owned by what looks like a bunch of gangsters, but they're not actually gangsters. They are fairies. And the king of the fairies, Oberon, from A Midsummer's Night Dream, he is overseeing it, and he is Puck's father. And I'm looking for stuff. I rearranged my makeup bag, so I'm going to have a couple of times where I'm like, where's my thing? I did remember my lipstick this time. There's lipstick in here for me to put on. It's only taken me like 8 videos, but whatever. So anyway, I digress. So Oberon actually banished Puck to Fairyport Landing. By the way, the thing in the beginning where like, you find out that the Grimm brothers like captured all the Ever Afters, not all of them made it there. Some of them escaped and ran away and have been like living and hiding amongst the humans, usually in big cities, because you can blend in very easily there. So they're in New York City. Nobody notices all these weird creatures because it's New York City. So we're in New York City. Oberon is angry that Puck came back because he's been banished, even though he's on his deathbed, and refuses to help him. So the characters Grimm, Daphne, and Sabrina. Sabrina's like the main character. She's a little bit older. They're 9 and 7, 11 and 7, 11 and 7, 11 and 7. Of course, they're little children saving the world, but I digress. I say that too much. I'm going to stop saying I digress. If I say that, yell at me in the comment section. Okay, so they are there. They're like, please help Puck. I don't care that you're angry at him. He's your son. How could you do this? And then he's like, oh my gosh, are you Veronica Grimm's daughter? And they're like, yeah, what's it to ya? As it turns out, Veronica, their mother, was helping the fairy people try to like come back together because all of the fairy or the Ever Afters who lived outside of Fairyport Landing were like, they didn't like each other. They weren't working together. They argued a lot. They were like battling each other. And Veronica was trying to pull them together for their own safety, for their own security, for their own, goodness of future. And everybody loved her for it because it was Grimm. That's like what they do, Grimms. And nobody realized that Veronica was doing this. As far as anybody knew, Veronica, who actually married into the Grimm family, she married Sabrina's father, who was like the Grimm, So anyway, nobody knew she was doing this. She wasn't a Grimm by blood. So like, oh my gosh, this is wild. Like we didn't know she was doing this. This is why she was kidnapped. Da 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 da. But everybody loved her. So like, this doesn't make sense why she was kidnapped. So they're continuing to look into that throughout the whole story. But then also they're like, we got to save Puck. So Oberon refuses to save Puck, but his mother, Titania, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. She does it anyway, and she puts the spell on him, and he basically is in like this little cocoon while he's healing. And so now they're like trying to help him heal, but suddenly Oberon dies. He is murdered. So the Grimm family steps up. They're like, this is our wheelhouse. This is what we do. We're going to figure out who killed Oberon. And as it turns out, since Oberon is dead, Puck is the next in line to be the Fairy King. So now they really need to save him. They need to protect his little cocoon as he is healing because he's the next king of the fairies. And so they're out and about trying to find the murderer. They think it is one of the other fairy children, one of Puck's siblings, because they start investigating and they go to... Oh, and they also, the Wizard of Oz is there. The wizard is Oberon's like primary advisor. So he's like, here's some leads. You should go talk to this person. He's been known to talk to the dead. And it was a fairy tale character that I cannot remember. But it's like somebody involved with, A Christmas Carol. Scrooge. Scrooge. They go to Scrooge because Scrooge has the ability to talk to ghosts. Nice. So they go to Scrooge, and it's like his business in this story. He owns like a psychic place, and they go to him, and they are able to talk to Oberon, and Oberon is like, it was so and so, my child. I think his name was Cobweb, and they're like, it was him. He gave me a glass of wine, and then the next thing I knew, I was in a lot of pain and I died. So they think it's Cobweb. So they start going after Cobweb, and then they find Cobweb because the next place they go to is the land of the 6 dwarves, and they go to the 6 dwarves. Yeah, 6 dwarves, not 7. The 7th one, like, there was a story like what happened to the 7th one, but I don't remember, and it wasn't super important. So they go there, and while they're there, they find Cobweb, which was, by the way, it's in the subways. The land of the seven dwarves is in the subways, and they basically live in like old subway areas. So they go there and they do find Cobweb, but in the meantime, they find some other creatures, and Cobweb ends up saving them from these other fairy tale creatures that are attacking them and the dwarves are helpful, and then Cobweb is helpful, and they're like, it can't be Cobweb. Like, why would he help us? If he's a murderer and he's on the run, why did he help us when he knew that we were like after him? Makes a lot of sense. So now they don't think it's Cobweb, but everybody else does. And so, and again, they still have this like little cocoon that they're trying to protect. So now they have to figure out who it actually was. So they start continuing to investigate, and they realize they have to go like to this other place where they have to get on a boat. I think they have to go to the Statue of Liberty. I don't know. I don't think that's right. Oh, no, I remember what it is. They're chasing Cobweb, and he flies into like across the Hudson Bay, and they need to get on the boat to go there and like to chase after him, because now they're like, it's not him, we need to help him and protect him. So they get on a boat, and unbeknownst to them, the boat is actually Long John Silver, and he's just boating, he's doing his thing, he's a pirate, and they while they're there, they get into this like pirate battle, and the Long John Silver and all those people are like having a grand old time battling this yacht full of yuppies, and they don't realize, like, they're like, oh my gosh, we're all gonna die, and like we need to, oh, and then Cobweb comes back, and sorry, making a mess. Cobweb comes back, and they're all like, what? He's back again to help. Cobweb ends up getting killed in this battle because the people on the yacht are actually fairy mafia, I think. It hasn't even been that long since I've read this book. I don't know why I'm having such a problem remembering some of these details. So it's the Grimms, then a couple of fairies, the Puck's cocoon, healing cocoon, and they're all on Silver's boat because he's the only one who will help them go chase Cobweb. And then they run into the yacht full of, I'm pretty sure it's fairy like mafia people, and a battle ensues. The pirates, Long John Silver and his pirates are like, a battle. What am I doing? Okay, sorry. They start this battle, and Long John Silver's ends up losing, and they have to, what do I want to do here? Okay, I'll do this. I'm going to do pinks today because it's February, and I'm starting like my Valentine's Day vibe. So I'm going to do pinky shades, but I got to start with my transition color. But anyway, so they battle, and Long John Silver ends up losing, and the police show up because there's like this big battle. Mafia people get the Grimms, like kidnap them, just the children though. They just kidnap the children and the cocoon because Sabrina's character. And sorry about that. They then the police ends up showing up and arrests the children and the cocoon and all of this stuff, while in the meantime their grandma, who they've been living with, is not arrested. So they have to save them from jail, which they do, but how do they get out of jail? I don't think they actually go to jail. I think they end up getting rescued before they end up in jail. Why is that part so blurry in my memory? Anyway, it doesn't matter. So they have the cocoon. They just were Long John Silver's. They know it's not Cobweb that killed, and they're trying to figure out what is happening. That's right, I remember. One of the other fairies that is with them to help also protect Puck's cocoon is Moth, and she's in love with Puck and thinks that they're about to get married one day soon. And I'm very much distracted by what makeup I want to do. Okay, so as it turns out, Moth, I think, is the one who killed Cobweb. No, that's not right. Why is that whole scene so blurry? Can't remember at all. Anyway, they think Moth is the one who killed Oberon. No, she says something about, I brought him his wine. I'm always the one who serves Oberon his wine. And since he was like, so the person brought me wine and then I died. but he couldn't remember who it was. And she's like, well, I brought him his wine. So they were like, oh my gosh, it was Moth, this person who like wants to marry Cobweb this whole time. That's crazy. So they're like, we have to get Moth, but Moth runs away. And then the cops show up. Like during the battle, she escapes or something. And so they got to find her. So they start chasing her. And as they're chasing her, they're like, oh, we don't know what to do. We can't find her. And also Cobweb isn't the one who did it. We need to like save his name because everybody thinks it was him, but it was actually Moth. So they not knowing what to do, and also having to like, deal with the police and stuff, which they somehow get away from the police, but I don't remember how. They decide to go to the Wizard of Oz, who works for Macy's. He's the window display creator. So they go to Macy's, and it's at the very, very end of the day, and like they are in there talking to him in his office, in his workshop, because he makes like robots and stuff, like mannequin robots for the displays. And they're in there talking to him, or no, they aren't talking to him, they're waiting for him. And while they're waiting for him, they're like, man, all these robots are super creepy. And they find a journal, and they've been searching for this journal for quite some time. It is Veronica Grimm's journal, and it is like her record of like her dealings with retail people, the ever afters as they're called, and her plans to bring them together and bring them peace and harmony and protection and things. So they're like, why is this here? And then the Wizard of Oz, they call him Oz, shows up, and it turns out that Oz is actually the bad guy. And he is he's a member of the Scarlet Hand. And he was somehow involved with the Grimm parents' kidnapping, but he is actually best friends with Veronica, and he hates that he had to do this, had to be involved, because he actually really cares about Veronica. He loves her, like not loves her, but like he loves her. And he didn't want to do this, but he had to because he's part of this organization, and he hates this and he hates that. And he's like, give me this stuff back. I have to do what I have to do. And if you don't give me the journal back, and if you don't do this, then I'm going to have to kill you all. And they're like, no, like we need this journal to help our mother. We have to figure out who put her in this coma, and my father in a coma. And he escapes through his hot air balloon, just like in the book/movie. He escapes through the hot air balloon, and in the meantime, he hits the remote, and suddenly all of his mechanical parts like come together and create this giant witch robot that's like 5 stories tall, to come after them and chasing them and destroy them. And in the meantime, like Oz is getting away, Puck's cocoon is still there, and it's, by the way, it's been getting stinkier and stinkier, which is a fun little detail that I enjoyed. It's getting stinkier and stinkier, and they're trying to battle this giant witch robot that's like coming after them and trying to get them. And they're trying to also chase after Oz in his hot air balloon. And Sabrina grabs a rope hanging from the hot air balloon, is like dangling from it. So it's just like, this is the climax of the story. Like at the robot and the cocoon and the hot air balloon, and Sabrina's hanging, and the grandmother's there trying to help out, and it's just mass chaos. And Sabrina manages to climb this rope and get up to Oz, and is like, why are you doing this? Stop this. Please help us save my mother. And he's like, I can't. I have to do what I have to do with the Scarlet Hand. So she gets the remote from him. She like wrestles the remote from him for the witch robot, and then falls like way from up in the sky. They're like at the top of the Empire State Building, and she starts falling. And of course, just at that exact moment, Puck's cocoon opens. He's healed. He's released, and he sees, oh crap, I'll get it later. He sees Sabrina falling, and he flies after her. He saves her. She hits the remote and deactivates the evil robot witch. And basically everything's like, okay, so we're fine. So unfortunately, Oz gets away. Sabrina is saved. The witch is fine. Did they get the diary? I don't remember if they got the diary or if Oz got it back and took it with him. I don't recall that detail. I guess I'll find out in book 5. So that's basically the end of the story. But they, like, now Puck is all better. He has to stay in New York and be the king of the fairies, even though he has been very helpful to them in every single story. He's been like pivotal in helping them solve the mystery, helping them survive. And so they're like, what are we going to do? And Puck ends up saying, like, I will come visit you as much as possible. Like, yes, I have to stay here and I have to put this kingdom back together and solve my people or whatever. They're like, I have to do this, but I will help you as much as I can. Well, in the meantime, I remember, they do have the diary, or they at least have a couple pages of the diary, because at the very end, they are asked to come to that secret underground fairy world restaurant, and everybody loves them because even though in Fairyport Landing in the first 3 books, nobody likes the Grimms because they're the ones who put the magic spell on them and trapped them there. They're stuck in this little town. The people out in New York or anywhere are trapped. They're just trying to survive, right? They're just living their lives. And Veronica Grimm has been extremely helpful to them by helping them find jobs, by helping them reconcile with one another across species. So when the sisters Grimm show up, they're like, we love you. We're going to do whatever we can to help you and protect you. But as it turns out, like right before Veronica and Mr. Grimm, whose name I can't remember, of course, right before they were kidnapped, they were, she was about to give this big speech to the people about her plans and her hopes for the fairy tale people in New York. And they found it. The sisters found it. It was in her journal. So they decide, let's read this to the people so they can see what Veronica said. Maybe we can like bring the people together, blah, blah, blah. So they do that. At the very end, that's like how the story ends. Everybody's like so excited to see the Grimm sisters. And they read Veronica's like manifesto for the fairy tale people, and it's beautiful and it's kind, and it's like we've got to work together, we've got to love each other, we've got to stop fighting amongst ourselves. And nobody liked the king of the fairy Oberon. He had been the king of the fairies for like ever, literally, because fairies live so long. But now that Puck is in charge, like we have a chance here to like start anew, come together. It's gonna be great, and it's this beautiful thing that really does unite them. And everybody's like, this is wonderful. We have the Grimm daughter, we have Veronica's daughters here to help us. Oberon is gone. Puck's in charge. Like things are looking up. Things are gonna get better, right? So it ends on a fairly happy note. They're in a good place. They solved another mystery. And then of course there's some other subplots. Like Sabrina doesn't want to do this anymore. It's like issue after issue, scary situation after scary situation. They almost die constantly. She's like, I'm 11, we shouldn't be doing this. And they're like, but you're Grimms, this is like your family legacy. And by the end of the story, she realizes that like she's the one who keeps them all together. She's the one who gives them all hope that this is going to be successful. She's the one who solves most of the mysteries because she's like such a good detective and whatnot. So she decides, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm going to stay with the family. I'm going to continue doing this even though it's scary and dangerous. I understand that this is like what we need to do in order to save my parents. This is what I was born for, blah, 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 blah. So she's in. Her little sister like has been into it the whole time. She loves fairy tales. She thinks this is amazing. Grandma Grimm, they call her Granny Grimm. She's like fantastic and takes care of them, protects them, and is teaching them all about fairy tales, all this wonderful stuff, okay? So the family is reconciled. The ever afters are reconciled. Puck's the new king of the fairy kingdom, and Oz has escaped. They're starting to piece together what the Scarlet Hand is. In book 3, they found and rescued their parents still in this coma, so like we can work on figuring out what to do next. It's good. It's all good stuff, right? The end. It ended on a cliffhanger. There's always a cliffhanger. They went home. Oh, they were headed home. And Hold on. Actually, I think it was they were heading home and they're like, okay, now we can focus on saving my parents and figuring out how to save them. Like that's how it ended. We're heading back to Fairport Landing. We are now officially no more mysteries, no more crimes. We are going to focus on saving my parents. And they're like, yes, that's the plan. And Puck's gonna come by as often as he can to help them to stay connected because like they're all close now. They're like their own little family. And then, oh yeah, there was this little subplot that was adorable. So one of the characters is the one three little pig, and in Fairyport Landing, he is the sheriff. Okay, so what he can be like in human form, and he's a sheriff, and he can turn into a pig and talk and be the three little pigs. Well, he was with them throughout this whole thing, helping them. And in the very beginning, when they went to the bar, and there's like the fairy mafia before Oberon was killed, he falls in love with this beautiful songstress who was like singing at the bar, but she's dating one of the fairies who's like a thug, he's like awful, so she dumps him and starts talking to and being with Mr. Hampstead. But then like a little side plot is the mafia dudes are like coming after him because he stole their girl and this is not what I wanted. That's the wrong one. It's fine. But it was cute because like they were slowly falling in love through the whole story, and he's like, I can't let her know that I'm a pig. How embarrassing. But then at the very end, as it turns out, she's the cow that jumped over the moon. So at one point, he accidentally turns into a pig because it was like intense moments, and he like lost his cool, and he like went to his true form. He was humiliated. He's like, she's never gonna want to talk to me again. But then she's like, no, I love you as you are, and I want to be with you, and blah 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 blah. I want to put a little bit more pink. I want to make it just a little more pink. And then she turns into the true form of she's a cow and she jumped over the moon. So it's adorable because now the pig and the cow are a couple. And they're going to live happily ever after. They love each other. And or the younger one, Daphne, is like, when's the wedding? I'm so excited. Even though they like literally have known each other for 5 days. But it was cute because it was the pig and the cow and they like fell in love and they're going to be together. Love a good love story, right? So yeah, that was how it ended. And it was cute. That's my story. So yeah, that's the end of the story. I'm almost done with my look. I think I put a little too much pink on. Whatever. It's fine. What do you think? Is that too pink or is it I think I need a little bit more brown up in the crease area in my transition. Just to what do you think? Does that make a difference? Anyway, so that's the end of the story. I'm really excited to read the next one. The other ones all left off on wrong color. All left off on a pretty good cliffhanger where you knew what they were gonna do next. Like the last one, Puck was injured, so you knew they had to like focus on solving him. And then there was the other one, book 2, as it led into book 3, they went through a portal and they found their comatose, sleeping spelled parents, but that's the Jabberwocky was protecting them, so they were like, you knew book 3 was going to start with a battle with the Jabberwocky and have to deal with that. But this one doesn't. It's just like, let's go home and focus on saving my parents. I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens in book 5. I'll let you know when I read it. I'll do another book talk video, another books and looks video, and tell you how that is. But yeah, I liked it. I would give it, where is it? It's this side. Everything's fine. Here it is again, the cover. See, there's the witch. There's the witch. And then there's Sabrina and Daphne, New York City behind them being destroyed by this. I think that's Moth. That's Mr. Hampstead. And then that's Mr. Canis. He's the big bad wolf. And he's also like on their side. He's like their security, whatever you want to call it. So anyway, I would give it, it's over here again, I keep doing that. Out of 10, I would give this one an 8 out of 10. And the only reason I don't give it a higher score is because I feel like it had too much action. I left out quite a few of like the battles and the issues and the things. Like there was so much, it was like one thing after another. As soon as they would go somewhere, there would be some sort of issue, some sort of battle, they had to get themselves out of, and then they would escape that, and it would be okay for a couple of pages, and then some new. This is darker than I wanted. Oh well. Some new situation that they had to get themselves out of. They were constantly running from something, hiding from something, trying to survive something. And like, yeah, I love a good action-packed story. But in my opinion, it was a little too much action-packed. It was a little non-stop. And I kind of just wanted a little bit more downtime of like character development, backstory, things of that nature. But I really did like it. I think it's really cute. I love the concept. I like the characters and how they're portrayed, and I like how in this one they brought in some other side stories like Scrooge and the Wizard of Oz, which weren't Grimm fairy tales. But if all these fairy tales exist and, you know, thrive in the world, we know it, why not bring in some of the other ones? That's cool, right? So it was fun. So I gave it an 8 out of 10. Wish it would just sort of slow down and give it a little bit more backstory and stuff. Yeah, so that's my finished look. I'm a little unhappy with my dark lip, but that's okay. It's fine. It's fine. I can change it later. I'm going to go eat something anyway. It's going to come off. So that's my book. This is my look. I hope you liked it. I hope you were entertained. If you know the Grimm sisters stories, let me know. Have you read them? This was published in 2007, so they are a little bit older. If you know these stories, let me know in the comments below how many of you have read. Don't give me any spoilers because I want to read them all on my own. I guess there's 9, and I plan on reading them all. Let me know what you think. Is it something you might want to read? Is it something you've already read? And then also give me some other suggestions on stories. I did get a suggestion from a viewer recently of a book that I had actually already read. So, but there's a side story that I'm going to read. So I will be bringing that in very shortly. And yeah, this is my look. It's February, so I'm going with pinks this month. Yeah. I hope you like it. A little bit of pink, a little bit of cutesy pinks. I like it. I feel pretty when I do pink eyeshadows. I should do it more, but here we are. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you come back and watch more. Keep watch for new videos coming out soon. And yeah, that's really all I have to say. So I guess it's just have a wonderful everything and beautiful inside and out. Mwah. Bye.